What's up guys, Rahim Berry here. I'm here at Tranquility Gardens owned by Miss Karen Dickerson, the person recognized by the Ministry of Agriculture for having the best backyard garden for this third quarter.
Welcome to Tranquility. In 2017, I moved from the US back home to St. Kitts, and it has always been my dream. When I went to the US, I said, this is only going to be temporary. I'll be home, and when the Spirit moved me, I will pack up and I'll come home. 2017, December was that moment. And I always knew when I come home, I have to feed myself. Because living in the US, I realized the food was not what I thought it was. In the 80s, I heard about GMO, and I'm like, what is GMO? So I asked questions, looked it up, and I realized, oh, so I'm not really eating real food. Someone think what they're doing is better than what God created. So then I went to organic. And at that time, I traveled frequently. I was in a different city every week. And so I had to find farmers that grew organically. And then Whole Foods came on the market, so it was easy as I traveled, I could get organic foods. But then 2015, I realized organic foods in the health food stores had been diminishing, and foods were coming from Peru, Chile, and not the US. And I eat what's in my area because I think it's very important that we eat what's in our area, because I think it does something to our bodies. And growing up in St. Kitts, my father grew everything and my mother cooked it. So I knew what home-based food was, and the taste and what it's supposed to look like. And so when I came home in 2017, by January, I had bougainvillea trees, palm trees, evergreen trees around, nothing really edible. I cut them all down, dig out the roots, brought in soil, 1 bucket at a time, mulch, manure, whatever I can to build the soil. And I had someone build this raised bed for me, and I started planting. I planted.
The Frigate Bay Strip is going through a major transformation right now. Forget what you know about the strip in the past. When we're finished with this project, the Frigate Bay Strip will have bathrooms, gazebos, a boardwalk on the beach, enhanced visitor center, police outposts for boosted security, improved green parking, roads, sidewalk, jogging trails, enhanced landscaping, all to enhance the overall visitor experience. Our people will benefit tremendously from this, and so too will our guests when tourism restarts. With an enhanced visitor experience, the Frigate Bay Strip will provide new opportunities for locals to make money when tourism eventually returns to the island.
You can now put some already in it. I can't miss it. I can't miss it. I'm going to take the national yellow.
What's up guys, Rahim Berry here. I'm here at Tranquility Gardens owned by Miss Karen Dickerson, the person recognized by the Ministry of Agriculture for having the best backyard garden for this third quarter.
Welcome to Tranquility. In 2017, I moved from the US back home to St. Kitts, and it has always been my dream. When I went to the US, I said, this is only going to be temporary. I'll be home, and when the Spirit moved me, I will pack up and I'll come home. 2017, December was that moment. And I always knew when I come home, I have to feed myself. Because living in the US, I realized the food was not what I thought it was. In the 80s, I heard about GMO, and I'm like, what is GMO? So I asked questions, looked it up, and I realized, oh, so I'm not really eating real food. Someone think what they're doing is better than what God created. So then I went to organic. And at that time, I traveled frequently. I was in a different city every week. And so I had to find farmers that grew organically. And then Whole Foods came on the market, so it was easy as I traveled, I can get organic foods. But then 2015, I realized organic foods in the health food stores have been diminishing, and foods were coming from Peru, Chile, and not the US. And I eat what's in my area because I think it's very important that we eat what's in our area, because I think it does something to our bodies. And growing up in St. Kitts, my father grew everything and my mother cooked it. So I knew what home-based food was and the taste and what it's supposed to look like. And so when I came home in 2017, by January, I had bougainvillea trees, palm trees, evergreen trees around, nothing really edible. I cut them all down, dig out the roots, brought in soil, 1 bucket at a time, mulch, and manure, whatever I can to build the soil. And I had someone build this raised bed for me, and I started planting. I plant papaws, I plant greens, I plant anything I can get. I planted, these from seed, the star apples from seed. This I got from the agriculture department. And I would start saving my scraps from my food, peelings. My family would give me their scraps. And I started composting. And I just never threw anything away unless it had a fungus or something was wrong with it. And I said, it's gonna take me some time, but I'm determined to feed myself. It's not a hobby, it's a lifestyle. And it's eating healthy, because when I lived in the US, I ate healthy, I ate what I cooked. And I like to know where my food comes from, because I'm into environment, I don't believe in. I moved from the US back home to St. Kitts. And it has always been my dream. When I went to the US, I said, this is only gonna be temporary. I'll be home, and when the Spirit moved me, I will pack up and I'll come home. 2017, December was that moment. And I always knew when I come home, I have to feed myself. Because living in the US, I realized the food was not what I thought it was. In the 80s, I heard about GMO. And I'm like, what is GMO? So I asked questions, looked it up, and I realized, oh, so I'm not really eating real food. Someone think what they're doing is better than what God created. So then I went to organic. And at that time, I traveled frequently. I was in a different city every week. And so I had to find farmers that grew organically. And then Whole Foods came on the market, so it was easy as I traveled, I can get organic foods. But then 2015, I realized organic foods in the health food stores have been diminishing, and foods were coming from Peru, Chile, and not the US. And I eat what's in my area, because I think it's very important that we eat what's in our area, because I think it does something to our bodies. And growing up in St. Kitts, my father grew everything and my mother cooked it. So I knew what home-based food was, and the taste, and what it's supposed to look like. And so when I came home in 2017, by January, I had bougainvillea trees, palm trees, evergreen trees around, nothing really edible. I cut them all down, dig out the roots, brought in soil, 1 bucket at a time, mulch, and manure, whatever I can to build the soil. And I had someone build this raised bed for me. And I started.
Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, let me just give everyone a minute to settle down. We're about to start. Okay, good afternoon again, everyone, and welcome to our first annual Backyard Garden Competition launch, which is hosted by the Ministry of Tourism in collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture. I'd like to invite everyone to stand as Mr. Dejon Francis plays the national anthem, and then I'll ask for everyone to remain standing as Mrs. Therese Versailles will do the prayer.
Good afternoon. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you with grateful and thankful hearts. Father, we ask you to keep a hedge of protection around our nation of St. Kitts and Nevis, the Ministry of Tourism, Department of Agriculture, our backyard gardeners, and all who will be assisting in this venture. As we go forward, let us adopt God's way of gardening. Plant 3 rows of peas: peace of mind, peace of heart, and peace of soul. Plant 4 rows of squash: squash gossip, squash indifference, squash grumbling, squash selfishness. Plant 4 rows of lettuce. Let us be faithful. Let us be kind. Let us be obedient. And let us love one another. Water freely with patience and cultivate with love. There is much fruit in your garden because we reap what we sow. And finally, let us have time. Time for God, time for study, and time for prayer. Amen.
Please be seated. Thank you, Dejon, for being so instrumental, and to Mrs. Versailles for invoking God's presence in this afternoon's program. Please allow me to acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Lindsay Grant, Minister of Tourism, Mrs. Carleen Henry Morton, and Mr. Morton. Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Tourism, Ms. Sharon Ratton, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Environment and Cooperatives, Mr. Ron Dublin Collins, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Mr. John Hanley, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism, Nevis, Mr. Clyde Thompson, Registrar, Department of Cooperatives, Mrs. Dorita Freites, Director of Facilitation at Skipper, Ms. Novelette Morton, Senior Tourism Projects Officer in the Ministry of Tourism, staff of the Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of Agriculture and the Tourism Authority, members of the Backyard Garden Association, fellow gardeners, invited guests, good afternoon. It's my pleasure this afternoon to welcome you, as I stated before, to our first annual Backyard Garden Competition launch. Before, we would have had the Best Village competition, from which this Backyard Garden competition has stemmed. Now we'll go on to Mr. Melvin James, who would now do the welcome and opening remarks.
Good afternoon, all. I think Madam Chair very well established a comprehensive protocol, and I would wish to identify with it, save perhaps to mention Mr. Tom Lee from the Republic of China on Taiwan, and we certainly happy to have all who are here, including those who gave the musical accompaniment, our media folks, and all. Even as I begin, I will not speak so much to the competition itself, but as Director of Agriculture, I want to plant some ideas in the heads and minds of all the participants, and even those of us who are just maybe exhibitors or who are here to give support. I said to us, as I speak to you about the history of food production and population growth, that we have three categories. We're looking at landscaping, ornamentals, and vegetable production. Wherever we find ourselves in this competition, I said to us that there was a thing you call the Green Revolution. In fact, throughout history, there has been several revolutions. For example, the American Revolution and the Industrial Revolution. But in the mid to late 20th century, we had what we call the Green Revolution. This was a period when productivity of agriculture increased dramatically as a result of new advances. During this period, there were chemicals, fertilizers, synthetic herbicides and pesticides that came into being. These fertilizers and other substances made it possible to supply extra nutrients and therefore tremendously increasing yields. These newly developed products control weeds, they control insects, and resulted in phenomenally high yields. As a result of the revolution, we had these numerous yields, and it made it possible for the world to feed its growing population adequately. Since the 1970s, with this advancement in agricultural technology and industrial know-how, it not only affected agriculture, but human population. In the wild, there are two main factors that control population, mainly diseases and food availability. In modern society, with all of those advances, persons have lived much longer and much healthier. Until today, we have gotten to a point where there is far more people than food. Generally, although some would disagree, but there is an issue in that the countries with surplus food will not make it available just like that. We in St. Kitts are amongst those countries that have an overall deficit of food. Some of those first world countries, they have abundance unto store. In our setting, we only do about 20% of our needs. Therefore, our producers, who we normally call farmers, they're called upon to double, to triple, maybe even quadruple their output. We as individuals should not just sit around and wait on them or wait for another green revolution. There is something that we can do. And what we're here doing today is signal of what the ordinary non-professional farmer can do to assist himself. Backyard gardening is, in that context, very timely and very important. It means that we are doing something about our condition of food availability. And so I, from the department's point of view, commend all of those who will be taking part. While you may be doing it for fun and a hobby, there is a greater component to it, where you're also securing your own food nutrition and food security. So I welcome all, I commend all, and I say to you, have fun, enjoy it. It may be a hobby for you, but those of you who discover that you have green thumbs or that you have technology that will produce efficiently, I want you to consider not only doing it on the side, not only doing it for fun, but even consider it as a career in the future. Consider it as something you can do to assist your country. It may make you a community star. It may bring you some recognition in your country, and you never know, it might make you the food hero of the Caribbean. I want you to think on these as we go forward today in this launch of this competition. It may be just for the competitiveness of it now, but it can also rebound into significant advances, not only for yourself, but for the wider community. May it please you.
Thank you, Mr. James, and the Department of Agriculture for all the initiatives that you've been implementing in regards to backyard farming. We know that you would have already put on some backyard gardening sessions where persons can actually get a bit more involved. And you've heard Mr. James' plea, so use the opportunity to join, and now they're focusing more than ever on backyard farming, giving seedlings and stuff like that. So take the opportunity to get it now and start your own backyard farming. We now welcome Honorable Alexis Jeffers, Minister of Agriculture. Sorry, Mr. Ron Collins, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture, to give brief remarks.
Good afternoon to all. Honorable Lindsey Grant, Minister of Tourism, His Excellency Tom Lee, Resident Ambassador of the Republic of China on Taiwan to St. Kitts Nevis, and other members of the technical mission of the Taiwan Technical Mission here in St. Kitts. We acknowledge your presence. Permanent Secretary Carleen Henry Morton of the Ministry of Tourism, and Permanent Secretary Rattan, department heads, and I want to recognize in particular the Director of Agriculture, Mr. Melvin James, backyard farmers, and ladies and gentlemen. I bring you greetings on behalf of the Honorable Minister Alexis Jeffers, who regrettably is unable to join us because of other commitments in Nevis. Backyard gardening has a long tradition of offering great potential to improve household food security and alleviate micronutrient deficiencies in so many ways. So this initiative, backyard gardening, long practice in our community is not new. In times past, it has long been practiced here in St. Kitts and Nevis. It's highly commendable and recommended as one which ought to be embraced by our households throughout the length and breadth of our federation. We promote this effort of our residents and highly applaud the success realized by so many of our backyard gardeners. The Ministry of Agriculture sees backyard gardening as a smart vehicle to help us to achieve food access, security, and safety. It also helps people save money by spending less on food and earning extra income by selling in any small way garden produce, ultimately increasing one's purchasing power. These home or backyard gardens can serve as an additional source of food for our families, and so we encourage involvement by all. The initiative is especially important in this COVID-19 time of great challenge, where income earning opportunities have been seriously threatened, where it is becoming increasingly important for vulnerable households to ensure their maintenance. Thus, the ministry is taking steps to better support the backyard farmers and to create greater awareness of this effort and facilitate the induction of far more households in backyard farming. Our restructuring provides for it to be promoted by all our district extension officers so that the communities can be far more engaged in this initiative. Our Federation's long tradition in backyard gardens records how we used to grow food for the family and a little extra for sharing with friends and neighbors. But that tradition has been in steady decline as people have shifted away from fruits and vegetables to processed foods and diets rich in fat, sugar, and salt. With the closing of the sugar industry, agriculture's contribution to the national GDP slipped greatly, dwarfed by great developments in tourism and in the banking sectors. Farming suffered from intense competition from land, from housing and tourism development, and adverse environmental condition, water shortages in some areas for some time of the year. We believe that if we work together, our food system can provide safe, adequate, nutritious, and affordable food for our nation throughout the entire year, thereby achieving food and nutritional security. Our fields, our hills have been cultivated from early days of settlement in order to produce sugarcane and other foodstuff. Our island once throve on such an industry that became the very backbone of our island's economy. But COVID and other realities have taught us well. And we are again revisiting how we do agriculture, seeking to enhance the sector and creating the awareness of the importance of growing our own food in an effort to cut back on the high food import bill, not to mention the prospects of healthier families as food will be readily available in their own backyards for consumption. The high incidences of various illnesses have raised serious concern with regards to the diets of our people. Hence, the additional reason emphasis must be placed on backyard gardening and diets higher in fruits and vegetables. The Backyard Gardening Competition is an initiative which aims to promote the practice by providing helpful tips and a platform to showcase backyard gardening initiatives to individuals and families across our communities. So with backyard gardening, we can find use for the empty containers, such as the buckets, the plastic water bottles, etc., and help to save the environment, because these very same materials can be recycled for such use and not lay wasted or dumped in our guts or on our seashores and sandbanks. These gardens also provide a place for experiencing nature, which is proven to be beneficial for our mental health, our cognitive functioning, and our emotional well-being. We can get the whole family involved, and we encourage all to get your family involved, even the very young, the preschoolers, the primary age students. It is an opportunity to reinforce skills such as measurements, etc., sorting and categorizing and colors and so on, practicing their motor skills and learning work ethic, also life skills taught through gardening. We have too heavy a dependence on a wide range of important goods. It is therefore imperative that our country retains the capacity to produce a portion of the total supply of food that is needed. I therefore encourage all to support this initiative, to get involved in backyard gardening so that you can grow your own food and share with your neighbors. Today, on behalf of the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, our Minister of Agriculture in the federal government, I want to commend your participation and extend gratitude for your involvement in this competition. May you all be successful. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. And thank you to your ministry for committing to this project with the Ministry of Agriculture, especially financially, as teamwork makes the dream work. We'll now have remarks by the Honorable Lindsey Grant, Minister of Tourism.
A pleasant good afternoon to all. Ambassador Tom Lee of the Republic of China, Taiwan, Ms. Carleen Henry Morton, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism et al., and Mr. Morton, Permanent Secretary Ron Collins in the Ministry of Agriculture, Permanent Secretary Sharon Rattan in the Ministry of Environment, Permanent Secretary John Hanley in the Ministry of Tourism, Nevis, Mr. Melvin James, the Director of Agriculture, Mr. Clyde Thompson, who is the Registrar of Cooperatives, Mrs. Dorita Fritz, Director of Facilitations at Skipper, Ms. Novlet Morton, Senior Tourism Projects Officer, all the backyard farmers and gardeners, members of the staff of the Ministries of Tourism and Agriculture and the St. Kitts Tourism Authority, media houses, to all a pleasant good afternoon. It is a genuine pleasure to be here this afternoon at the Eco Park once again in partnership with the Ministry of Agriculture. For those who may not be aware, in January of 2019, this Eco Park was officially handed over to the government and the people of St. Kitts and Nevis and is now being co-managed by the Ministries of Tourism and Agriculture. Indeed, this facility is yet another tangible expression of the generosity of the government and the people of the Republic of China on Taiwan, and our two nations' enduring friendship, mutual commitment, and support. In that relatively short space of time, both ministries have been able to accomplish quite a bit in our efforts to maintain the venue and advance the journey to establishing it, not just as a premier agro and ecotourism product, but also as a spacious and attractive location for family celebrations such as weddings, graduations, and similar events. Work is already in progress on a number of planned deliverables for the short to medium term, and among them include the following. We've expanded and more diverse fruit and flower production. The restaurant with the lower and upper outdoor decks is about 85% complete, and the children's recreational area with swings, monkey bars, and slides will also be located close by. We are in the very early stages of constructing exhibits that deliver up-close, immersive experiences for our guests. That is, space has been cleared for an enclosed butterfly sanctuary, a see-through fiberglass fish tanks, and other animal enclosures for feeding and petting will follow shortly. Tours will be designed to tell our stories of food security, self-sufficiency, and resilience, long before there were buzzwords. The designs for the replica 3D sugarcane field exhibits are close to completion. The layout for 8 to 10 retail outlets for the sale of arts, the sale of crafts, and services, such as photography and videography, is also being finalized. We are preparing to roll out a multi-layered, comprehensive marketing plan that will ensure that the Eco Park is on practically every tour itinerary. More traffic translates into more jobs directly at the facility and a greater demand for our ancillary goods and our services along the value chain, which equals more money circulating in the economy. So these are indeed exciting times for both the ministries, and something to which I can easily become accustomed to, working together to build a symbiotic relationship that is in the best interests of our people, our industries, and the economy as a whole. Today, we are here to officially launch the Backyard Garden Competition 2020 edition. From my understanding, registration is currently open and will run until the 31st of October 2020. That date resonates with me as the Minister of Tourism, and it should with all of us collectively, because it signals the opening of our borders, where we will welcome regional and international travel on the 31st of October. And as a government, we have intensified our efforts to prepare for that eventuality. In many ways, tourism is the lifeblood of this economy, employing directly over some 5,000 persons in the Federation and contributing over 28% to our GDP. A re-energized and safe tourism product will keep us competitive and appealing in these times when many persons may still be tentative about traveling. The COVID-19 pandemic and the subsequent closure of our borders certainly has underscored the need to promote and to practice basic self-sufficiency and to adopt healthier lifestyles. They also seem to have highlighted our appetite and deepened appreciation for quality local goods and services. A lot more of our locals are exploring and enjoying our island home like never before. Many more persons have actually begun home gardening projects, utilizing our yard and veranda spaces to grow fruits, to grow vegetables, tea bushes, and of course to enhance our surroundings. And these are habits that we at the ministry endorse, and definitely we want to encourage going forward. A produce more local, buy local, consume local, enjoy local mentality. We must become more self-reliant. We must support our local entrepreneurs by experiencing and consuming their goods and their services on a regular basis. In that way, we become informed brand ambassadors who can use the traditional and social media to market our beautiful federation and all that we have to offer to the discerning traveler. Our local entrepreneurs must in turn be sensitive to the needs and expectations of the local consumer and work to innovatively market their products and services to this niche market. In this way, everybody wins. Tourism and agriculture are excellent avenues for this level of collaboration, flexibility, versatility, and obviously sustainability. Perhaps that is why we complement each other so easily and so readily pool and merge our resources and our ideas. In small island states such as ours, agritourism and ecotourism, both of which are integral to a competitive and sustainable tourism product, must be driven by a pro-people, pro-planet approach and agenda, one which supports decent livelihoods and celebrates the natural environment. Respecting this balance is critically important, and here in St. Kitts and Nevis we understand this. So our various programs and projects reflect that philosophy and that practice. In fact, we are recognized by the global tourism community as exemplars and practitioners of that ideal. You will recall in 2019 in Seville, Spain, we won critical acclaim and recognition from the World Travel and Tourism Council, the WTTC, for our sustainable tourism initiatives and partnerships with schools, with our communities, with the public and the private sectors, and regional and international tourism agencies. I want at this time to commend the Sustainable Destination Council, the SDC, which is chaired by Assistant Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism, Ms. Danielle Taylor Williams, for the phenomenal work they continue to do in preaching the message of environmental protection and promoting the virtues of responsible and sustainable tourism development and expansion. Over 30 years ago, in 1987, the World Commission on Environment and Development stated that sustainable development implied meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs. And this sentiment is just as relevant today as it was back in 1987. And that is exactly what is at the heart of programs like the Best Village competition, which attracted over some 30 entries last year, the largest number ever. And now the Backyard Garden Initiative, which we are very optimistic will also attract very positive responses. At the Ministry of Tourism, these projects are so much more than competitions, because that word, can scare off a lot of people and bring out the worst in others. For us, it is more about collaboration, cooperation, greater integration and inclusion of our citizens and of our residents in helping to develop and to grow both tourism and agriculture sectors. This is part of our community tourism outreach and awareness program, and our strong determination to spread and speak the benefits of tourism beyond the traditional borders and into more rural areas in particular. For the foreseeable future, many of our guests will be looking to enjoy our island home in ways that will allow them to avoid large crowds. So we can expect requests more for do-it-yourself and off-the-beaten-track type of tours, for more immersive, more hands-on experiences that still allow them to enjoy our heritage and our culture, our flora, our fauna, our cuisine, and all that we have to offer from the mountains to the sea, while observing all the health protocols, of course. The more technologically savvy may even begin to journey to St. Kitts and Nevis virtually, exploring first online to carefully select the places that they want to visit and explore while they're on island. Whatever the mode of engagement and interaction, the natural environment is a clean canvas for us to use in interesting and sustainable ways that will make our guests feel safe, feel comfortable, and totally inspired. Our home gardens will definitely add to the beauty of our surroundings, speak to our pride of place and creativity, and help us to maintain a healthy diet. Beyond that, though, through technology, the synergies and the partnerships, they can literally blossom into unique, specialized tours that will attract tourism dollars to our communities and contribute to a more diverse tourism portfolio and a richer patron experience. Over 80+ tour guides have already graduated from the Ministry of Tourism's walking tour program, many of whom are farmers, many of whom are home gardeners and agro-processors. This backyard garden competition is the ideal opportunity for you to put those skills, your knowledge and your passion, and your creative energies and juices to good use and deliver those extraordinary, wow, unique experiences that add value to every guest interaction. Just a few rules and guidelines to bear in mind as you prepare to enter the competition. 1. The activity is open to any owner, any occupant of a property or institution in our communities. 2. Registration is currently open and will close on the 31st of October. Registration forms must be completed and must be submitted to the Department of Agriculture or the Ministry of Tourism on or before the stipulated date. 3. There are 3 categories. 1 is vegetable garden, 2 the ornamental garden, and 3 professional landscaping. Entries into any category can include the residential front, the side, the back, or the entire property once it's less than 10,000 square feet. 4. Judging will take place in or around January or February of 2021. The specific date will be announced later. 5. The first, second, and third place winners in each of the categories will be awarded garden supplies and tools to assist with the upkeep of their home gardens. 6. A ministerial award will be given to the gardener employing the most environmentally sustainable methods. And 7. If you have any questions, don't call me. Call 467-1841 and ask to speak to Mr. Stuart Versailles or the Ministry of Tourism's front desk at 467-1390. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow citizens, as I close, I want to remind us all about the importance of adhering to the COVID-19 protocols, especially as we prepare to reopen our borders at the end of the month. So we must wash our hands often and thoroughly, frequently disinfect and sanitize high-touch areas and spaces used by multiple persons, door handles, door knobs, and seating areas, handrails, washrooms, lunchrooms. We must wear our masks at all times, ensuring that we cover both our nose and our mouth. Practice physical distances and avoid crowded spaces. The SDC's tagline, "Good for us, better for all," sums up what our modus operandi and what our mentality and our attitude must be going forward. So we reduce the spread of the COVID-19, keep ourselves and our families safe, and ensure that when we reopen our borders stay open. So may God continue to grant us the wisdom, and our collective knowledge will do us well as we keep our nation safe. Let us continue to adopt the all-of-society approach that has served us so well in the past and so well to date, and which has won us global recognition as a safe and responsible destination. I want finally to thank the members of the Ministries of Tourism and the Department of Agriculture for your efforts in organizing today's event. I know that countless hours have gone into the planning of this competition, and countless more will be spent over the next few months executing it. Your initiative and your generosity of spirit are deeply appreciated. I am confident that this exercise will metaphorically and literally bear much fruit and flowers, and that in the end our island home will be better for having hosted such an activity. Thank you for your kind attention. Continue to enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Grant. And with the presence of COVID-19, we have no other reason than to become more self-efficient, think more on food security, and buy local and practice growing local. We'll now be entertained by Royd Phipps and his group. officially open.
I'd like first of all to call to the podium the PS Ministry of Tourism and also the PS of the Ministry of Agriculture. And I will hand each of them an implement. You need to dig some soil, you know. I want you to dig some imaginary soil as I declare the backyard garden competition officially opened.
We are almost at the end, and we'd like to ask Ms. Catrice Thomas to give the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon. Permit me to adopt the protocol that has already been established, as the honor is mine to deliver the vote of thanks on this occasion. I am particularly excited about the concept of the backyard gardening competition. Having experienced a pandemic, I have come to realize how vulnerable we are as a people, and now more than ever, this project is a must-do. With that being said, I would first like to thank our chairperson, Ms. Charlene Welcome, for guiding us through this ceremony. Mrs. Terence Versailles, fellow committee member, thank you for evoking God's blessings, for without him, nothing is possible. The words manifested by the speakers emphasize the positive attributes to the backyard gardening competition. Mr. Melvin James, Director at the Department of Agriculture, Mr. Ron Collins, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, and Marine Resources, and Honorable Lindsey Grant, Minister of Tourism, Transport, and Ports. Thank you for your words of encouragement. COVID-19 has shown very clearly that backyard gardening is a way of addressing food security and health-related issues. It teaches about sustainability and self-reliance in our communities. I must also mention our deep sense of appreciation to our sponsors and donors, as we all are aware that accomplishments such as these are only possible through partnerships established on common goals. Therefore, to the Ministry of Agriculture in particular, our profound thanks for your collaboration as we embark on this journey together. I take this opportunity to extend our sincere thanks to this afternoon's entertainers for adding the right touch of what is already an exciting atmosphere. May I also express our sincere thanks to the media persons for giving excellent coverage to our program. To the caterers and decorating team, a heartfelt thank you. To the Backyard Gardening Committee members, my colleagues at the Ministry of Tourism, the staff members at the Agriculture Department and the St. Kitts Eco Park, a sincerest thank you for your cooperation and organizing an event of this caliber. To everyone else who made this event a success, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. I think Ms. Thomas covered everyone, and thanking everyone. We'll now have a cultural presentation in the form of a dance from Dance Connect. Dance Collect. We are now at the end of our ceremony, but we'd like to invite you to participate in our cultural exhibition and sale of local products on the outside.
The Frigate Bay Strip is going through a major transformation right now. Forget what you know about the strip in the past. When we're finished with this project, the Frigate Bay Strip will have bathrooms, gazebos, a boardwalk on the beach, enhanced visitor center, police outposts for boosted security, improved green parking, roads, sidewalk, jogging trails, enhanced landscaping, all to enhance the overall visitor experience. Our people will benefit tremendously from this, and so too will our guests when tourism restarts. With an enhanced visit experience, the Frigate Bay Strip will provide new opportunities for locals to make money when tourism eventually returns to the island.
You can now put some word in it. I can't miss it. I can't miss it.
I'm going to take in there, should be really yellow.
What's up guys, Rahim Berry here. I'm here at Tranquility Gardens owned by Miss Karen Dickerson, the person recognized by the Ministry of Agriculture for having the best backyard garden for this third quarter.
Welcome to Tranquility. In 2017, I moved from the US back home to St. Kitts, and it has always been my dream. When I went to the US, I said, this is only going to be temporary. I'll be home, and when the Spirit moved me, I will pack up and I'll come home. 2017, December was that moment. And I always knew when I come home, I have to feed myself. Because living in the US, I realized the food was not what I thought it was. In the 80s, I heard about GMO, and I'm like, what is GMO? So I asked questions, looked it up, and I realized, oh, so I'm not really eating real food. Someone think what they're doing is better than what God created. So then I went to organic. And at that time, I traveled frequently. I was in a different state, city every week. And so I had to find farmers that grew organically. And then Whole Foods came on the market, so it was easy as I traveled, I can get organic foods. But then 2015, I realized organic foods in the health food stores have been diminishing, and foods were coming from Peru, Chile, and not the US. And I eat what's in my area because I think it's very important that we eat what's in our area, because I think it does something to our bodies. And growing up in St. Kitts, my father grew everything and my mother cooked it. So I knew what home-based food was, and the taste and what it's supposed to look like. And so when I came home in 2017, by January, I had bougainvillea trees, palm trees, evergreen trees around, nothing really edible. I cut them all down, dig out the roots, brought in soil, 1 bucket at a time, mulch, manure, whatever I can to build the soil. And I had someone build this raised bed for me, and I started planting. I plant papaws, I plant greens, I plant anything I can get. I planted, these from seed, the star apples from seed. This I got from the agriculture department. And I would start saving my scraps from my food, peelings. My family would give me their scraps. And I started composting. And I just never threw anything away unless it had a fungus or something was wrong with it. And I said, it's gonna take me some time, but I'm determined to feed myself. It's not a hobby, it's a lifestyle. And it's eating healthy, because when I lived in the US, I ate healthy, I ate what I cooked. And I like to know where my food comes from, because I'm in the environment, I don't believe that you should waste. And so I decided to grow my own food, and COVID was the testament that Tranquility fed me. I didn't go to the store once, I ate right here. And so now I used to be clueless gardener, now I'm sustainable me.
This one. That was the one there. Switch to me and
what I was telling her, these are porous because they're not glazed.
Okay.
So the water could escape.
Oh, that's what you want.
Yeah, so I walked you through. I decided to show these. A lot of times I show the glazed work. The glazed work. Yes, you can put a plant in there.
Oh, so he's coming.
If you come round here and you look at, hold it up to the light, beautiful. Yes, go. They're tenuous. All the bottle. Okay.
No.
Yeah, Charlie, go ahead.
Can I have the attention of everyone, please? We're going to have a live demonstration by the mixologist, Stacey Little. She's going to be doing a dragon fruit mojito, and so we're asking persons to come and see the demonstration. Demonstration is on this side. Let me mix some of this. Good job. Oh, yeah. That's your fault. Hello. Hi. How are you? Alright, so we're going to do a live demo with our cocktail that we are featuring for Goma. So it's a dragon fruit mojito. It's very, very simple. It's easy to make, and you could try and copy it as best as possible. But if you want to get the ingredients, I have no problem to give it to you. Alright, so we're going to start with a little bit of mint. It's about 6 leaves. And then we're going to use some limes. We're going to use about 4. And we're going to muddle. Now muddling is just to extract the juices and the oils from the mint and the limes. Now we have 2 different kinds of the dragon fruit. So this is the red one and this is the white. The white one, you can always tell because the fruit is lighter in color. The red one is a bit deeper in color. Alright, so we're going to use the red one. I'm going to use this a little bit because the color comes out nice and bright like this. We're just going to muddle it. And just for a little bit added sweetness, we're going to add some sugar syrup. So what is sugar syrup? It's just simply sugar and water. Alright, so we don't want to get a lot of the sugar granules in our mouth, so we use sugar and water. Alright, so we're going to do it with a little bit of alcohol. Anybody likes a bit of alcohol? Yeah? No? Yeah. Some must... Yeah, shy, or you don't want to be on camera to know that you like alcohol. We should. Alright, so this is going to do about 1.5 ounces. What? You could never have too much alcohol. Sorry. Alright, and then we're going to put some ice. No, this is one drink. The pour just looks long, but it's not. Alright, so we fill our glass with ice. We're gonna just take our bar spoon and do 2 little stirs. Sorry. Apparently that ice don't like alcohol, so try to get up. Don't worry. Alright, and then we're just gonna top with a little bit of soda water. If you want to do a little twist and you want to use Sprite just for additional sweetness, or if you want to do tonic water, anything, that's fine. You could experiment at home. And this is basically your dragon fruit mojito.
So all we're gonna do now is just garnish. Always garnish because we want to look nice and fancy. You can use a little bit of our lime. And I'm gonna cut one of our dragon fruit. So we're gonna use the white one this time. Or let me. Now, if you'd like, you could also use, when you're modeling, the skin. The skin has a lot of vitamins and nutrition in there, so you don't have to be afraid of using the skin also. And this is our dragon fruit mojito.
Yeah. Come. Taste this.
Come here. When you... Oh wait, let me give you a... No.
So why don't you just talk a little bit for everybody? The whole sample says no, don't they?
After he said that's too much.
You don't say so.